I often think that people need to learn things in their own time. That sometimes we can't rush the process. At the same time, it breaks my heart to think that maybe I've learned a thing or two about something and that somebody else may not be able to take advantage of my experience. I mean, as human beings all together here, I think the more, that we can avail ourselves, access the information of other people, it just, moves the whole thing forward. I think it raises the whole thing up and saves us from having to, make the same mistakes again and again in some regards. So, very quick thought here. How do we give advice to other people? Going to give you 8 ideas here. Got them written down. 8 ideas. Number 1, do not care if someone takes your advice. Now, this in itself is a wonderful, humbling, interesting psychological process that you can benefit from, that believing that you have something of value to offer, but understanding that it may not be a fit for somebody else, and having no ego. When people sense that you're pushing it on them or that you really care, hope you take my advice here, it's a turnoff. It will undermine your goal if, in fact, your goal is truly altruistic and you want to help somebody else rather than just, talk about it. And hopefully they take your great advice. So number 1, don't care, and tell them, look, here's some advice. I don't care. I want you to hear it, but I don't care what you do with it, okay? It may be a fit for you, may not. I don't care. And get there so it's authentic. You don't care. Number 1, don't care if they take your advice, okay? Number 2, if they don't ask for the advice, odds are they don't want to hear it, right? Now, you can always say, we've always said, do you mind if I suggest something? Do you mind if I give you some advice? And I prefer saying to somebody, do you mind if I suggest something, rather than saying, do you mind if I give you some advice? Ideally, it's great, and I've had many situations where, you want to offer something that you can think can really help them in an enormous way, and if you wait, if you're patient and you listen to them, it's so much better if they ask you, right? Which brings me to number 3, which is listen and ask questions. And this is key in all human exchange. It's essential the other person believes that you understand their perspective or their experience as well as possible. Okay, if they believe that you really, really get where they're coming from, because what often people do when you suggest an alternative view, whether it's advice or suggestion, it's an alternative take, people often go to, I don't think you totally understood what I was saying. I don't think you understand what I was saying. So if you listen, really listen, and ask questions, so that they are convinced you really do understand in a complete way where they're coming from, you're going to have far more success suggesting advice as a response, as a reply. So listen, ask questions before the advice, okay? Choose the right time. We've all made this mistake. Choose the right time. That can really make or break. And be mindful that this is a huge factor. And often people make a mistake. I've done this a million times myself, where I've offered good advice, the right way, with the right attitude, all these things, but it was the wrong time. And then what's the point? So the timing's got to be right. Next, keep it short. And this is a challenge on you. How can you give this pearl of wisdom? How can you share this really valuable piece of advice to the other person as succinctly as possible? Boom. Not a whole lot of preamble or justification, explanation, which in fact I want to mention, this is next, is if they want to get into some sort of just debate with you on it, oh yeah, I can see it, but I don't shut people down, but I sort of stop and say, we can have that conversation, but I really am not interested in explaining or justifying, and it's not that you're defensive, it's just people can often lose the valuable whatever advice. I think of giving advice more like planting a seed. Also, remind them several times, I don't care. This was my experience, okay? And I expressed to them the last point, real number 8 here, is that it may not be a fit for them. It might be great advice. It really might be great advice, okay? But for reasons that you don't understand, it may not quite be a fit for them. Maybe they haven't been able to fully express and share what's really going on in every way, so there's a piece that's blocking your advice from being a fit, okay? So hence about humility, hence about not really caring. Look, I don't care if you take it. I understand it may not be a fit. And the reason why I think it's really important to let them know that you don't care if they take it and why you understand it may not be a fit is because it may not be a fit for them now. It might not be a fit. The timing might be off. Maybe they haven't really thought it through that next level. So if you make sure you plant the seed, Just leave with as little justification, reaction, no debate around it, no you pushing, if you can just plant that seed and not spark or inspire or trigger anything in the other person that they might, sort of prematurely get rid of it. If they can just sit there with them, if you can do that, that has the greatest chance of your advice, really being of value for them, to be able to see and avail themselves of the wisdom, of the smarts, of the experience that advice represents. Okay, so keep those things in mind, and I wish you and I lots of all that good luck offering other people advice.